Close your eyes. Feel the weight of the day begin to soften at the edges. The world outside quiets, but within, does the hum remain? That ceaseless chatter, the endless rehearsal of words unsaid, paths untaken, worries multiplying like shadows at dusk? Tonight we journey not to distant lands, but inward, guided by the ghost of a swordsman who knew the sharpest blade cuts not flesh but thought itself. Miyamoto Musashi. His wisdom whispers across centuries, offering a key to the quiet cage we build with our own restless minds. Settle deep, breathe slowly. Let the stories begin. Chapter 1. The sword that cuts nothing but air. Have you ever stood perfectly still, yet felt utterly exhausted? As if you'd spent hours swinging a heavy sword, at nothing but mist? That's the secret tax of overthinking. Miyamoto Musashi, the legendary swordsman who faced 60 duels undefeated, didn't fear the blade before him half as much as the storm within his own skull. He knew a mind lost in endless strategy, replaying every possible move, every potential outcome, is like a blade swung wildly in an empty room. It cuts nothing. It changes nothing. Yet it drains you utterly, leaving you weak, trembling, and unprepared when the real opponent, life itself, finally steps forward. What if the greatest victory isn't against an enemy outside, but against the phantom duelist chattering endlessly in your own mind? What peace awaits when you finally lower the sword? Imagine him, not the myth, not the stone statue in some shrine, but the man, Musashi, young, perhaps 19. The air is cold, sharp with the scent of pine and damp earth on the mountain path near Kyoto. Dawn hasn't yet broken the hold of the stars. He walks, not towards a specific foe, but into the vast, echoing chamber of his own potential. His feet know the way his mind has walked 1,000 times before. What if Sasaki Kojiro uses the swallow reversal? What if the sun glints off his blade into my eyes? What if the ground is slicker than expected? What if? The thoughts buzz, relentless, like flies trapped against a paper screen. Each what if is a phantom swing of his wooden bokken, cutting only the cold air, leaving him colder still inside. He pauses. The crunch of gravel under his straw sandal stops. Silence rushes in, vast and deep as the valley below. It's not an empty silence. It's alive. It holds the sigh of the wind through ancient cedars, the distant cry of a hawk circling high above unseen prey, the steady, patient thud of his own heart. In this silence, the frantic rehearsal hall of his mind feels small, tawdry, like children playing at war with sticks. Musashi breathes deep, letting the icy air burn his lungs. He feels the solid weight of the bokken in his calloused hand, not an extension of his worry, but simply wood, shaped by skill. His focus shifts, not outward to imagined futures, but downward, to the earth beneath his feet, solid, unmoving, present. He feels the subtle tilt of the ground, the texture of the path. He feels the air currents shifting against his skin, carrying scent and temperature. He listens, truly listens, beyond the internal noise, to the world as it is, not as he fears it might become. This he would later carve into his dokodo, his way of walking alone. Do not, under any circumstances, depend on a partial feeling. Overthinking is the ultimate partial feeling. It's clinging to fragments of possibility, projections of disaster, echoes of past wounds, and mistaking this chaotic swirl for reality. It's like trying to see the moon by only staring at its reflection in 100 shattered, rippling puddles. Exhausting, distorting, never true. Musashi learned on that mountainside, and in countless moments of stillness before conflict, that true strategy isn't born from frantic calculation. It emerges, clear and sharp as a polished blade, from a mind grounded fiercely in the now, a mind that observes the opponent, the terrain, the light, the wind, not the phantoms of its own making, a mind that trusts the skill forged in practice, not the strategy spun in fear. To overthink is to swing your sword at phantoms. To be present is to see the single, decisive cut that needs to be made, and make it. The exhaustion lifts, the trembling ceases, not because the danger is gone, but because the mind is no longer fighting shadows. It's ready, it's here, it's whole. The sword rests, not idle but potent, waiting, knowing the true cut comes only once. Sleep now. Feel the solid earth beneath you, the real air in your lungs. Let the phantoms fade. Your sword can rest, and as the phantom duelist in your mind finally sheathes his blade, a deeper quiet emerges. But in that quiet, what do we find? Not emptiness, but perhaps a different kind of burden. Chapter 2. The unbearable weight of the unlived moment. What haunts you more fiercely in the deep quiet of night? The mistakes you made, or the moments you missed? The things you did wrong sting, yes, but they belong to you. They are yours. The moments stolen by hesitation, by the endless committee meeting in your mind debating whether to act, how to act, those leave a different ache, a hollow space where life could have been. Musashi saw hesitation, the child of overthinking, as the true killer, not of the body perhaps, but of the spirit. He wrote, "Perceive that which cannot be seen with the eye." He meant seeing the cost of the unlived moment, the crushing weight of the path not taken, the love not spoken, the leap not made, all sacrificed on the altar of endless thought. What treasures have you already buried, simply by thinking too long? Picture not a battlefield, but a garden. Late afternoon sun, golden and heavy, spills through the leaves of a gnarled maple tree. Musashi, older now, his face etched with lines earned not just in combat, but in contemplation, sits near a still pond. He watches a single, perfect crimson leaf detach from a high branch. It spirals down, dancing on unseen currents, taking its time. It's beautiful, free. He remembers, not a duel, but a crossroads. Years earlier, a master potter, renowned for his tea bowls of breathtaking simplicity and depth, had offered to teach him, not swordsmanship, but clay. The feel of the earth, wet and yielding, the slow, patient coaxing of form from formlessness, the fire that transforms. Musashi had felt a pull, deep and unfamiliar, a longing for creation, not destruction. But the thinker awoke. How would this serve my path as a swordsman? Would it be seen as weakness, a distraction? How much time would it take? Could I truly master it? The questions spun, intricate as spiderwebs. Days passed. The potter, sensing the hesitation, a shadow passing over the initial spark of interest, simply nodded one morning and turned his wheel to another student. The moment passed. The opportunity, as delicate and unrepeatable as that falling leaf, settled silently onto the pond of his life and sank without a ripple. Do not regret what you have done. Another precept from the Dokudo. It seems stern, unforgiving. But its deeper companion, unspoken yet felt in the weight of the unlived moment, is this: regret most fiercely what you did not do because thought held you captive. Overthinking builds cages of later, maybe, what if they think? It convinces you that safety lies in inaction, in waiting for perfect clarity, perfect conditions. But life, Musashi observed in the garden, isn't the pond, it's the falling leaf. It happens now. The potter's wheel turns now. The word of affection needs speaking now. The leap of faith must be taken now, not when every conceivable outcome has been dissected and labeled. Hesitation, born of overanalysis, isn't caution. It's a slow suicide of the spirit. It's watching the leaf fall, admiring its beauty, yearning to hold it, but never lifting your hand. The regret for action fades. We learn, we adapt. The regret for inaction, it settles in the bones. It becomes the quiet companion in the garden of memory, the ghost of the person you might have been, the life you might have touched, the beauty you might have created. Musashi learned, perhaps too late in that instance, that the way isn't just about decisiveness in battle, but in life. To perceive that which cannot be seen, the crushing, silent weight of the unlived moment, is to understand the true cost of a mind lost in thought. It is the unbearable burden of possibilities turned to dust by hesitation. Let the leaf fall, but reach out now. Before the moment sinks beneath the surface, leaving only ripples of regret, feel the weight lift. As you choose to live, now, reaching out breaks the cage of thought. But what if the world you grasp feels unreal, like water slipping through your fingers? Chapter 3. When the world becomes water. Have you ever tried to clutch water, to hold the reflection of the moon in your palm? That's what overthinking does to the world. It takes the solid earth beneath your feet, the clear sky above, the simple truth of a moment, and dissolves it into 1,000 shimmering, shifting possibilities, none real, all elusive. Musashi pierced this illusion. He saw that the mind, untethered, spins vast, intricate worlds of worry, of projection, of catastrophic fantasy, and then mistakes these fragile, shimmering bubbles for reality. In all things, have no preferences, he advised. Why? Because preferences are the architects of illusion. They build the castles in the air that overthinking then desperately tries to defend. What solid ground do you stand upon when your mind is building castles on water? Imagine a wide, slow river on an autumn afternoon. Musashi stands on the bank, watching the water flow, not thinking about the river, but being with the river. He sees leaves, gold, crimson, ochre, carried on the current. Some swirl in tiny eddies, trapped for a moment before breaking free. Others glide smoothly towards the distant sea. He dips his hand into the water. It's cool, fluid, impossible to grasp. He closes his fist. It slips through his fingers. He remembers a duel, not the clash of steel, but the moments before, facing an opponent renowned for his unpredictable style, a man who seemed to shift like smoke. Musashi's mind that morning had been a churning river itself. He'd constructed scenarios. He favors the left side lunge after a feint. But what if he feints the feint? What if the reports of his speed are underestimated? What if he has studied my technique and anticipates the fire and stone maneuver? The possibilities multiplied, each more elaborate than the last. Building an opponent in his mind who was 10 feet tall, capable of impossible angles, a phantom woven from fear and fragmented information. Stepping onto the dueling ground, the real man stood before him, not a phantom, not a collection of what-ifs, just a man, breathing, standing on the earth, holding a sword. Musashi, in that instant, let the river of his thoughts flow past. He didn't clutch at strategies. He didn't grasp at preferences for how the fight should go. He simply saw the slight tension in the man's shoulders, the micro shift of his weight to the balls of his feet, the flicker in his eyes. The reality was infinitely simpler, infinitely clearer than the water world his overthinking had created. The duel was over swiftly, not because Musashi overpowered him, but because he saw him, truly, without the distortion of 1,000 projected possibilities. Do not seek pleasure for its own sake. Pleasure, pain, victory, defeat, preferences all. Overthinking thrives on preferences, the desperate clinging to a desired outcome, the violent rejection of a feared one. It builds the illusion that we can control the river by thinking hard enough about its course. Musashi learned to stand like a stone in the river, feeling the water flow around him, past him, observing the leaves, the thoughts, the feelings, the possibilities as they drift by, not trying to catch them, not trying to dam the river, not drowning in its current, just standing, present. The world stops being shimmering, elusive water. The earth beneath the riverbed is solid. The sky above is vast and clear. The opponent is simply a man. The moment is simply now, unadorned, real. Let the water flow. Feel the solid ground beneath it, always there, always holding you. Sleep, anchored in the real. Standing solid in the real world, we find a stillness. But is this stillness empty, or is it watchful? Like a heron poised at dawn. Chapter 4. The stillness that sees the dragon. Move. In the frantic marketplace of your mind, shouting with worries and plans, could you hear a sparrow land on a branch 3 streets away? Could you feel the shift in the wind before it stirred the leaves? This is Musashi's secret. True power, true understanding lies not in thinking more, but in thinking less. It lies in the profound stillness beneath the storm of thought. He called it Mizu no Kokoro, mind like water, not empty, but clear, perfectly reflective, undisturbed. In that stillness, perception becomes superhuman. You see the dragon move in the shadows before it strikes. You feel the subtle shift in a friend's mood before they speak. What profound wisdom whispers just beneath the noise, waiting for you to be quiet enough to hear? Dawn. A mist hangs low over a meadow, clinging to tall, silvered grass. Musashi sits, utterly still, on a flat rock overlooking the scene. He isn't meditating in the formal sense. He isn't trying to be empty. He is simply present, watching. His breath is slow, almost invisible in the chill air. His eyes are open, soft-focused, taking in the whole field, not fixing on any one thing. A hunter might strain, searching for movement. Musashi waits. He allows the world to come to him. A spiderweb, strung between 2 grass stalks, glistens with dew. He sees it not as an object, but as a pattern of light and moisture, perfectly placed. He hears the faint rustle of a vole moving through its hidden tunnel beneath the grass. He feels the subtle warming of the air as the sun, still hidden below the horizon, begins its ascent. He doesn't think about these things. He perceives them. They register in his awareness like pebbles dropping into still water, clear, distinct, sending out ripples of pure information, unclouded by interpretation. He recalls observing a master calligrapher at work. The old man's hand didn't hesitate, didn't tremble with calculation. It moved with a fluid certainty that seemed to bypass thought entirely. The brush touched paper, ink flowed, and characters emerged. Not planned, but born in the moment. Perfect expressions of spirit. The master's mind wasn't vacant, it was clear, like the still water reflecting the moon. Musashi realized this was the state he sought in combat, in strategy, in life. Not the absence of awareness, but its absolute peak, achieved when the noisy commentator in the mind falls silent. Do not let yourself be guided by the feeling of lust or love. Lust, love, fear, ambition. These are currents that stir the water, distorting the reflection. Overthinking is the constant churning. Mizu no kokoro is letting the sediment settle. In that clarity, perception becomes direct, unfiltered. You see the opponent's intent in the micro-tension of his little finger before his sword arm moves. You sense the hidden path in the forest, not by analyzing every tree, but by feeling the subtle flow of the land. You understand a friend's unspoken pain not by dissecting their words, but by perceiving the slight tremor in their voice, the shadow behind their eyes. This perception isn't magic. It's the birthright of a quiet mind. It's seeing the dragon move because the water of your mind is still enough to reflect its shadow perfectly. The frantic thinking mind is blind. The still, clear mind sees everything. Let the sediment of today's worries settle. Feel the clarity beneath, the deep, still water, reflecting the true world. Rest in that reflection. In the perfect reflection of the still mind, what do we ultimately see? Not just the world, but the one who watches, quiet and unafraid. Chapter 5. The Empty Hand That Holds the Moon. What does freedom feel like? Is it the absence of walls, or is it something deeper? A lightness within, even when the world presses close. Musashi's final wisdom on overthinking is this: true freedom comes not from controlling every thought, but from releasing the desperate need to control them. It's the freedom of the empty hand, the hand that doesn't clutch at water, doesn't grasp at the moon's reflection, doesn't white-knuckle the sword of thought. Think lightly of yourself and deeply of the world, he wrote. Overthinking is the prison of self-obsession, the endless scrutiny of our own reflections in the rippling water. What happens when you open your hand and simply let the world be? What moon might you finally hold without even trying? Picture a simple hut. Rain drums softly on the thatched roof. An old man, Musashi in his final years, sits before a small, unadorned hearth. The fire is low, casting gentle, dancing shadows. He holds nothing. His hands rest open on his knees. There's no sword at his side, no brush, no book. Just the man, the fire, the rain, the quiet. He isn't thinking about his legendary duels, his treatises, his legacy. He isn't strategizing his next move, his next word. He isn't wrestling with philosophy. He is simply present, aware of the warmth on his skin, the sound of the rain shifting in intensity, the smell of damp earth and wood smoke. A thought arises, a memory of a cherry blossom viewing long ago. He doesn't grasp it, doesn't chase it, doesn't analyze it. He lets it drift through his awareness like smoke from the fire. Present, beautiful in its way, then gone. Another thought, a slight ache in his knee. He feels it, notes it, doesn't resist it, doesn't weave a story of aging or regret around it. It's just sensation, then gone. This is the culmination. Resentment over complaint begets more resentment and complaint. Musashi saw the chain reaction. A negative thought arises, complaint. Overthinking grabs it, worries it, resents it, which begets more negative thought. The grip tightens. The cage shrinks. The empty hand is the release. It's not apathy, it's profound acceptance. It's thinking lightly of the self, not with disdain, but with a gentle release from the exhausting burden of constant self-monitoring, self-judging, self-projecting. It's thinking deeply of the world, not as a problem to be solved by the frantic mind, but as a mystery to be experienced by the quiet soul. The rain is just rain. The fire is just fire. The ache is just an ache. The memory is just a fleeting image. In releasing the grip on thought, the grip on the need for thought to control reality, an immense space opens up. Freedom. Not freedom from circumstance, but freedom within it. Freedom from the internal narrator who constantly critiques, fears, and plans. This is the hand that holds the moon, not by clutching, but by being open, still, and reflective. The moon's light simply rests within it. Musashi, the ultimate warrior, found his deepest peace not in victory, but in surrender, not to an enemy, but to the present moment, to the empty hand, to the quiet mind, to the simple, undeniable reality of rain on a roof, warmth on skin, breath flowing in and out. This is the freedom beyond thought, the freedom of the unclenched fist, the freedom of the open hand, holding nothing, and thus holding everything. Let your thoughts drift like smoke. Let your hands lie open. Feel the vast, quiet freedom of no longer needing to grasp anything. Rest, truly, free. And so, the ghost of the swordsman fades, leaving only the whisper of rain, the warmth of the hearth within your own stillness, and the moon, held perfectly, in your open, empty hand. Sleep. Free. Chapter 6. The Blade That Cuts the Mind's Threads. How Musashi Found Stillness in a World of Noise. Do you ever feel it? That quiet, constant hum in your mind, a tangled knot of what-ifs and should-haves that pulls tighter the longer you stare at it? It's the sound of a modern mind at war with itself, a constant echo of battles that haven't been fought and likely never will be. We live in a world of endless information, and our minds have become a noisy marketplace where every thought vies for our attention, promising a future we can't grasp or a past we can't change. It's an exhausting way to live, isn't it? A silent, unending war you fight alone in the dark. But what if there was another way? A way to find quiet in the storm, to untangle the threads without cutting yourself in the process. This is the secret of the old masters, the wisdom they held in their hands like a perfectly balanced sword. A wisdom that, if you choose to listen, can offer you a peace you may have forgotten was even possible. Imagine a young man, not so different from yourself in his restlessness, standing on a misty mountaintop. This is Miyamoto Musashi, not yet the legend, but a storm of ambition and overthinking. His mind is a whirlwind, a chaotic dance of strategies, past duels, and future fears. He is a master of the sword, but a slave to his own thoughts. Each victory is followed by 100 replays in his mind, dissecting every move, every breath of his opponent. Each future duel is a ghost he fights in his head, 1,000 different scenarios, 1,000 different deaths. He is strong, yes, but brittle. He is sharp, but his own sharpness threatens to shatter him. He seeks out a reclusive master, an old man who lives simply in a small hut, his days spent tending to a garden and his mind. The young Musashi, full of fire and questions, expects a lesson on swordplay, a new technique, a secret stance. The old master, without a word, simply hands him a single dull stone and a worn-out rope. "Go to the river," he says, his voice as smooth and quiet as the water itself, "and untangle the knot of the river's song." Musashi is confused. He wants to learn to fight, not to solve riddles, but the old man's eyes hold a stillness that commands obedience. At the riverbank, Musashi sits with the stone and the rope, a puzzle he can't solve. The river rushes past, a constant, beautiful, and noisy flow. He tries to untangle the rope, but the knot is a stubborn, woven thing. He tugs, he pulls, he grows frustrated. His mind, still in its marketplace of noise, tells him this is a waste of time. He should be practicing his sword, not playing with a child's toy. The overthinking, the constant self-criticism, and the endless stream of alternative actions. It's all there, a chorus of inner voices telling him he's failing. He sits for hours, the sun moving slowly across the sky. The river's song, once a nuisance, begins to fade into the background. The knot of the rope remains, a physical representation of the knot in his mind. He lets go of the frustration, of the need to solve it, and simply is. He watches the river. He feels the cool stone in his hand. He notices the way the sunlight dances on the surface of the water, how a single leaf drifts by, a tiny boat on a great journey. For the first time, his mind isn't fighting. It isn't trying to outthink itself. It's simply observing. And in that moment, he sees it, the knot in the rope. It isn't a problem to be solved with force. It's a series of loops, of threads that have been pulled too tight. He doesn't pull on the ends. Instead, he gently, slowly pushes the loops back on themselves. With a patient finger and a soft touch, he coaxes the rope, not fighting it, but understanding its nature. The knot begins to loosen, and then with a simple flick of his wrist, it's gone. The rope is free. He returns to the old master, the untangled rope in his hands. The master smiles, a knowing, gentle expression. He takes the rope and ties it back into a new, more complicated knot. "Now untie the knot of your mind," he says, his gaze steady and deep. Musashi understands. The river was the world. The knot was his mind, his sword, his ambition, his fear. They were all the ropes he was pulling too tightly. He was fighting his own thoughts, trying to force them into submission, and in doing so, he was only tightening the knots. The lesson was not about the rope or the river. It was about stillness. It was about learning to observe his thoughts without becoming a part of their chaos. It was about recognizing the nature of his own mind, not as an enemy to be defeated, but as a river to be watched. The real duel was not with an opponent, but with the incessant, overthinking mind. And the winning move wasn't a strike, but a quiet, gentle letting go. Musashi learned to see his thoughts as they were, fleeting, unattached, not a part of his core self. When a doubt or a fear would arise before a duel, he wouldn't fight it. He would simply watch it, like a cloud passing in the sky. He would see the thought, acknowledge it, and then let it go, without giving it the power to take hold. He found a new kind of power, a power born not from brute force, but from a profound inner peace. He learned that the truest sword a warrior could wield was a still mind, a mind that was not tangled in the threads of its own making. And this is the gentle truth whispered from the past to us today. The relentless mental noise, the overthinking that keeps you awake at night, the anxiety that tightens your chest. It's just a knot you've been pulling on too hard. The solution isn't to fight it. It's to let go, to find stillness, to simply observe. The world will always be noisy. The challenges will always be there. But the true path to peace is not in conquering the outside world. It's in quieting the battle within. You have the power to untangle the knots in your mind. The question is, are you ready to stop fighting them? Chapter 7. The unseen enemy of the overthinker. Why your mind's sword is your greatest foe. Have you ever found yourself in a moment of absolute stillness, a quiet evening where the only sound is the gentle ticking of a clock, and felt an unexpected wave of anxiety wash over you? It's as if your mind, deprived of external distractions, turns inward, and suddenly, you're the one under scrutiny. You're the one being judged. You're the one being attacked. It's a strange, unsettling feeling to be a silent audience to your own mental battles, a witness to the sharpness of your own mind turning against you? What if I told you this wasn't a modern affliction, but an ancient one, a silent enemy that has plagued thinkers and warriors for centuries? A foe that Miyamoto Musashi, the greatest swordsman of his time, recognized and ultimately conquered. But he didn't defeat it with a blade. He defeated it by understanding a profound and subtle truth. The mind is a terrible weapon to turn on yourself. If you've ever felt the sting of your own self-criticism, if you've ever lost sleep to the endless loop of what-ifs, then this is a story for you. A story about how to disarm your own mind and find a quiet strength you didn't know you were missing. Picture Musashi, a man whose life was defined by conflict. His reputation was built on his ability to outthink, outmaneuver, and outfight his opponents. He was a master strategist, a human chess player on the battlefield. But the very same mind that made him a legend was also the source of his greatest internal struggle. After a duel, he would sit, not in victory, but in a kind of relentless self-analysis. He would replay the fight, not just to learn, but to punish himself for every perceived imperfection, a split-second hesitation, a fractional imbalance in his stance, a thought that distracted him for a heartbeat. These were the enemies he fought long after his opponent had fallen. His mind was a ruthless editor, and the script he was constantly revising was his own life. This self-criticism, this overthinking, was a poison. It was a silent drain on his energy, a constant hum of doubt that threatened to erode his confidence. He understood, with painful clarity, that while his sword could cut through a body, his mind could cut through his spirit. The fear wasn't of his next opponent. It was of his own mental weakness, the fear that his own thoughts would betray him in the heat of a moment. He was a man with 2 swords in his hands, but 1,000 more in his head, all of them pointed inward. Musashi, in his wisdom, recognized that he couldn't simply stop thinking. The mind is like a river. It flows whether you want it to or not. The solution wasn't to build a dam, but to learn how to stand on the riverbank and not get swept away. He began to practice something that seems simple, but is profoundly difficult: a mindful observation of his own thoughts. Instead of fighting the self-criticism, he would simply observe it, like a cloud passing in the sky. Ah, he would think, there is a thought about my past mistake. He would not engage with it, not argue with it, not try to push it away. He would simply let it pass, without giving it the power to take root and grow. He learned to distinguish between productive self-reflection and destructive overthinking. Productive reflection was like sharpening his sword, a focused, intentional act. Destructive overthinking was like endlessly stabbing himself with the dull blade of regret. He learned to be kind to his own mind, to treat it not as an enemy to be conquered, but as a student to be guided. He started to recognize that the self-criticism wasn't coming from a place of malice, but from a place of fear. The fear of not being good enough. The fear of making a mistake. By understanding the source of the thought, he could disarm its power. One of his famous sayings is, "Do not regret what you have done." It's not a command to be reckless or thoughtless. It's an instruction to not let the past become a weapon you turn on yourself. The battle is over. The lesson has been learned. To continue to fight that battle in your mind is to fight a ghost, and it's a battle you can never win. He understood that regret is a heavy weight, and a swordsman burdened by a heavy mind is a slow and clumsy one. And so, he learned to forgive himself. He learned to let go of the past and to not allow the future to haunt him with its endless possibilities of failure. He learned that the only moment that truly matters is this one, right now. He became present. He became still. He learned that the truest strength isn't in your ability to defeat others, but in your ability to find peace within yourself. He disarmed the unseen enemy, not with a strike, but with a profound, gentle act of letting go. This is the hidden wisdom he offers us today. We may not face duels, but we face the constant, relentless assault of our own minds. We worry about our careers, our relationships, our futures. We replay past mistakes. We dissect every conversation. We live in a constant state of mental warfare. But what if we could learn to disarm the enemy within? What if we could learn to simply observe the thoughts that wound us and then let them pass? What if we could learn to forgive ourselves, to let go of the regrets, to be present in this moment? It's a choice, a daily practice, a choice to stop turning the blade of your mind on yourself, a choice that leads to a profound and lasting peace, a peace that Miyamoto Musashi, a man who lived by the sword, ultimately found, not in victory, but in stillness. The quiet you're feeling now, that gentle pause in your thoughts, is not an emptiness. It is a space being created, a space where something new can grow. We've explored how to untangle the knots and disarm the blade. But what about the noise itself? What about the constant, overwhelming chatter of the modern world that feeds our overthinking? The next story is about finding your own sanctuary in the chaos. A sanctuary Musashi called the Void. It's a secret place you can retreat to, a place where the noise can't reach you, and where true power is born. Chapter 8. The Unburdened Mind, the Musashi. Secret to seeing the world as it is. Have you ever found yourself in a crowded room, a cacophony of voices and laughter, and felt a profound sense of isolation? It's not that you're alone, but that the noise of the world is so overwhelming, so stimulating, that you lose your own quiet voice. It's a modern paradox. We are more connected than ever, yet our inner worlds feel more fractured. We consume endless streams of information, opinions, and emotions from others, and our own thoughts get lost in the flood. This is a subtle but powerful kind of overthinking, not just of our own lives, but of the world around us. We are constantly trying to process and categorize everything, to make sense of the noise, and in doing so, we lose the ability to simply see things as they are. This is a path to a deep and quiet exhaustion. But what if there was another way? A way to find clarity in the chaos? A way to see the world without the burden of your own mental interpretations? This is the core of Musashi's final and most profound teaching, a state of mind he called the Void. And it's a sacred, secret space that is available to you right now, if you are willing to look for it. Imagine Musashi in his later years, a legendary figure, but also a simple, solitary man. He has retired to a cave, not to hide from the world, but to truly see it for the first time. He has spent his life fighting, a constant battle of action and reaction, a life of overanalyzing opponents and strategizing moves. His mind was a finely tuned machine, but it was also a filter, an interpreter. He didn't see the world. He saw the world through the lens of his warrior's mind. A tree wasn't just a tree. It was a potential weapon or a place of ambush. A river wasn't just water. It was a barrier or a path. Everything was a part of the grand game of strategy. But in the quiet of his cave, that old lens began to fog. He began to simply sit and observe. He watched the seasons change, the leaves turn, the birds build their nests. He wasn't thinking about them. He wasn't categorizing them. He wasn't trying to understand them in terms of a battle. He was just seeing them. And in this simple act of observation, something profound happened. The world, for the first time, revealed itself to him in its purest form. He saw the intricate beauty of a single leaf, the complex dance of sunlight on a rock, the effortless flow of the wind. This is the essence of the void. It's not an emptiness of thought, but an emptiness of attachment to thought. It's a state where you stop labeling, judging, and interpreting the world, and instead, you simply perceive it. It's the difference between looking at a painting and analyzing its brushstrokes and cultural context, and simply allowing yourself to be moved by its beauty. The first is an act of the mind. The second is an act of the soul. For the overthinker, this concept is both terrifying and liberating. Our minds are so accustomed to being in control, to being the central processing unit of our experience, that the idea of letting go of that control, of simply watching the world without the need to understand or interpret it, feels like a surrender. But it is not a surrender to weakness. It is a surrender to a deeper kind of strength. It is the strength of a quiet mind, a mind that is not burdened by the constant need to make sense of everything. In this state of the void, Musashi found a new kind of power. Not the power of the sword, but the power of presence. He could enter a room and truly see the people in it, not as potential allies or foes, but as they were. He could listen to a conversation and not just hear the words, but the subtle emotions and unspoken truths behind them. His overthinking had been a shield, a way to protect himself from the world. But now, in the stillness, he found that he didn't need a shield. He was one with the world. There was no longer a separation between him and the world, no longer a constant mental battle to interpret it. And this is the gentle lesson he whispers to us today. We are so busy trying to understand the world, to label our experiences, and to analyze our emotions, that we forget how to simply live them. We are so caught up in the noise of social media, the endless news cycles, and the opinions of others, that we lose the ability to see our own lives with clarity. We overthink our choices, our relationships, our identities, until the simple, beautiful truth of who we are gets lost in the noise. But there is a path back to that clarity. It's not a grand gesture or a complex philosophy. It's a simple, daily practice. It's a moment of silence where you close your eyes and just listen to the sound of your own breath. It's a walk in nature where you don't think about anything, but simply feel the sun on your skin and the wind in your hair. It's an act of gentle, quiet observation. It's the practice of seeing the world as it is, without the heavy burden of your own mental interpretations. It is the discovery of the void within yourself, a secret sanctuary where you can retreat from the noise and find a profound and lasting peace. A peace that Miyamoto Musashi, a man who lived his life in the midst of chaos, ultimately found in the stillness of his own mind. The stories we've explored tonight have been about freeing the mind from its self-inflicted battles and its constant need to interpret the world. But what happens when we do that? What is the reward, the profound gift we receive in return? The next and final story is about the ultimate freedom that comes from a quiet mind. The freedom to live with a new kind of courage, a courage that is not born from bravado, but from a deep, unshakable clarity, a courage to face the world as it is, and to truly be who you are, without the weight of overthinking. This is the final secret, the quiet armor that Miyamoto Musashi offers us. And it is a gift that can change everything. Chapter 9. The Empty Cup's Quiet Strength. How Musashi taught us to embrace our emptiness. Have you ever felt it? That quiet, nagging feeling that you're not enough, that you need to know more, to do more, to have more, to be more. We live in a culture that celebrates fullness, a full schedule, a full inbox, a full life, and in this relentless pursuit of more, our minds become cluttered, our thoughts become a jumble of anxieties, and we lose the quiet stillness that is our birthright. We fill our minds with endless information, not because it serves us, but because we are afraid of the emptiness. We're afraid of the silence, the void, the unknown. But what if that emptiness was not a weakness, but a profound strength? What if the key to a full, meaningful life was not in filling the cup, but in emptying it? This is one of the most powerful and counterintuitive lessons from Musashi's philosophy, a secret he learned not through fighting, but through a gentle and profound surrender. A lesson that, if you choose to accept it, can offer you a peace and clarity you may have been searching for your entire life. Picture Musashi, a warrior in his prime, a man whose mind was an endless library of strategies, techniques, and philosophies. He had studied every school of thought, every style of combat. His mind was full, an overflowing cup of knowledge. And yet, he felt a subtle, gnawing sense of dissatisfaction. He was the greatest swordsman, but inside, there was a hollowness, a lack of peace that no victory could fill. The more he learned, the more he knew, the more his mind became a noisy, crowded place. He was not just fighting opponents, he was fighting the ghosts of 1,000 different philosophies in his own head, a constant mental duel. He sought out a Zen master, a simple man who lived in a small hut, his days spent in silent meditation. Musashi, ever the pragmatizer, expected a lesson, a new technique. He came to the master, his mind a buzzing hive of questions and theories. He spoke of his accomplishments, his knowledge, his philosophies. The master listened patiently, and when Musashi finally paused, the master simply began to pour tea into his cup. He poured and poured until the tea was overflowing, spilling over the sides of the cup and onto the floor. Musashi, startled, cried out, "Master, stop! The cup is full. No more can go in." The master paused, looked at Musashi with a gentle smile, and said, "Just so. You come to me with a cup that is already full. How can I pour anything new in? You must first empty your cup." This was not a lesson in combat. It was a lesson in life. Musashi understood, with sudden and painful clarity, that his overthinking, his constant need to know and to analyze, was his greatest obstacle. He was so full of his own ideas and knowledge that there was no room for anything new. His mind was a crowded marketplace of thoughts. There was no space for the quiet, simple truth of the present moment. He had to learn to unlearn. He had to learn to empty his cup. And so, he began the practice of emptying. He let go of his attachment to his own knowledge, to his own identity as a great swordsman. He practiced a kind of mental minimalism, a conscious choice not to fill his mind with unnecessary information, not to engage in endless debates with himself. He began to simply be. When a thought arose, he would not latch onto it. He would not analyze it. He would simply observe it, like a cloud passing in the sky, and let it go. He was learning to be an empty cup, open, receptive to the world, without the filter of his own preconceived notions. And in this emptiness, he found a new kind of strength. He found a quiet confidence born not from a cluttered mind, but from profound stillness. He learned to trust his intuition, not his endless analysis. In a duel, his mind was no longer a battlefield of strategies. It was a still lake, a perfect mirror. He could see his opponent not through the lens of 1,000 different techniques, but as they truly were, in their purest form. His actions became effortless, not the product of thought, but a natural, spontaneous response to the moment. He moved not as a warrior, but as a river, flowing around obstacles, not fighting them. This is the incredible power of emptying the cup. It is freedom from the weight of your own thoughts, the ability to see the world with fresh eyes, to hear with an open heart, and to act with a clear mind. It is a profound and gentle act of self-care, the act of creating space for something new to enter your life. And this is the final lesson he offers us. We live in a world constantly trying to fill our cups, with social media, with news, with endless distractions. But the real peace, the real clarity, the real strength is found not in a full cup, but in an empty one. The overthinking, the constant need to know and to be certain, that is the symptom of a mind too full. The antidote is not more information, but less. The antidote is stillness. The antidote is the courage to embrace the emptiness. To be an empty cup is to be a vessel for the universe, to be open to the unexpected beauty of life, and to find a profound, lasting peace in the quiet stillness of your own mind. It is a gift of freedom, a quiet armor, that Miyamoto Musashi, the greatest warrior of his time, ultimately found not in the roar of battle, but in the whisper of an empty cup. Chapter 10. The Echo in the Empty Room. What happens when your thoughts become your walls? Have you ever felt it? That quiet, persistent hum in the back of your mind. Not a sound you can hear with your ears, but one that reverberates deep inside you. It's the feeling of a conversation you're having with yourself. A conversation that never quite ends. It starts with a simple thought, a small pebble dropped into a still pond. And before you know it, the ripples have become waves, crashing against the shores of your peace. It's the feeling that there's a crucial detail you've missed, a hidden consequence you haven't yet considered, a path not yet explored. And in that quiet space, in the empty room of your own mind, the echoes begin, the echoes of what if, and should I have, and is this right? It's a silent cage we build for ourselves, brick by brick, thought by thought. And tonight, as the world outside grows quiet, I want to invite you into a story about a man who knew the sound of those echoes better than anyone, and a story about what he taught us to do when they become too loud. What if you could learn to find the key to that cage, a key that's been waiting in the shadows of an ancient philosophy? What if the peace you're searching for isn't something you have to find, but something you simply have to stop losing? Imagine a young man, a student of the sword. He's standing in a sun-drenched dojo, the scent of wood and sweat in the air. His master stands before him, a weathered man with eyes that seem to see not just what's in front of him, but what's deep inside of him. The student is practicing a simple strike, a clean, swift movement meant to cut through the air with a perfect, unwavering arc. But he keeps faltering. His arm tenses, his brow furrows, and the strike, which should be effortless, becomes a hesitant, disjointed motion. The master watches, silent, for a long time. Finally he speaks, his voice like the rustle of dry leaves. Your mind, he says, is in 3 places at once. It is in the strike you just made, criticizing its flaw, It is in the strike you are about to make, worrying about its perfection, and it is somewhere else entirely. Replaying a conversation from yesterday, wondering if you said the right thing. The student looks down, shamefaced. He knows it's true. The dojo, a place meant for focus and presence, has become a stage for a silent, frantic play of his own making. The master continues, his voice soft, almost a whisper. The sword, he says, is simply an extension of your intention. But your intention is not a single point of light. It is a scattered cloud, a fog of 1,000 different thoughts. This is the essence of Miyamoto Musashi's struggle. Musashi, the legendary swordsman, was not just a master of the blade. He was a master of the mind. He understood deeply that the greatest battle he would ever face was not against another man, but against the ceaseless torrent of his own thoughts. He saw that overthinking wasn't just a distraction. It was a form of self-sabotage. It was the enemy within. Musashi knew that the mind, left to its own devices, will turn on itself. It will build scenarios, conjure specters, and create problems that do not and will never exist. This is the echo in the empty room. It's the feeling of being trapped in a debate with an opponent who knows all your weaknesses. Because that opponent is you. Musashi's solution wasn't to fight the thoughts. He knew that trying to not think is like trying to not breathe. It only makes you more aware of the very thing you're trying to suppress. Instead, he proposed a different path. He taught a philosophy of emptiness. But not emptiness as in nothingness. Not a void, but a clearing. A clearing of all the clutter, all the noise, all the frantic mental chatter. He spoke of the unobstructed mind, the mind that is like a polished mirror, reflecting what is, without adding its own commentary, its own fears, or its own judgments. This is the antidote to the echo. It's the practice of being so present, so focused on the task at hand, that there is simply no space for the echoes to reverberate. Let's return to the dojo. The master tells the student to close his eyes. He instructs him to feel the hilt of the sword in his hand, to feel the weight of it, the cool, smooth texture of the wood. He tells him to feel the floor beneath his feet, the way the muscles in his legs shift and tense. He tells him to listen to the soft sound of his own breathing. And then he tells him to open his eyes and to simply see. Not to see the master, not to see the flaws in his own posture, not to see the memories of past mistakes, but to simply see the space in front of him, the light, the shadow, the stillness. He tells the student that the sword strike is not a thought, it is an action. It is a moment of pure, unburdened presence. This is the essence of Musashi's teaching. The key to escaping the cage of overthinking isn't to think harder or to find the perfect solution. It's to stop thinking so much and start doing, to put your full, undivided attention on the single task in front of you. To wash the dishes with the intention of only washing the dishes. To write a letter with the intention of only writing the letter. To have a conversation with the intention of only hearing the person in front of you. This is the practice of filling the empty room, not with more noise, but with the quiet, focused energy of a single, deliberate action. Musashi's philosophy is not about becoming a mindless automaton. It's about becoming a human being who is fully present in their own life. It's about reclaiming your power from the frantic, endless conversations in your own head. It's about understanding that the mind is a tool, not a master, and that a tool is only as useful as the person who wields it. When you are overthinking, you are a tool being wielded by your own anxieties. When you are present, you are the master of your own mind. Think of it like this. A great archer does not think about the arrow, the bow, the wind, or the target all at once. He does not replay his last failed shot or worry about the next one. He simply becomes the shot. His intention, his body, the bow, the arrow, and the target all merge into a single unified moment. There is no space for the echo. There is only the stillness of the present. So, as you lie here, listening to these words, let's practice this together, just for a moment. Feel the weight of the blanket on your body. Feel the pillow beneath your head. Listen to the sound of your own breathing. Don't judge it. Don't try to change it. Just listen. Just feel. And for this one small, quiet moment, let the echoes fade. Let the conversations stop. Let the room become empty, but not with a suffocating nothingness, rather with a peaceful, expansive clarity. This is the beginning. This is the first step out of the cage. And tomorrow morning, when a thought arises and begins its frantic dance, you'll remember this. You'll remember the stillness. You'll remember the feeling of being present. You'll remember the key. And you'll know that the peace you've been looking for isn't out there in some perfect future or some perfectly executed plan. It's right here, in the quiet clearing of your own mind, waiting for you to simply be and to finally come home. Musashi understood that the sword was a reflection of the man who overthinks, whose mind is a chaotic marketplace of fears and doubts, will have a chaotic and hesitant sword. But the man who is still, whose mind is clear and empty of all but the present moment, will have a sword that moves with the unwavering certainty of a falling leaf. It is a lesson that has echoed through the centuries, a lesson that is as true for us, lying in our beds, as it was for a swordsman standing in a dojo. The greatest battle is not out there, it is in here. And the greatest victory is not over another, but over the self that overthinks, that worries, that doubts, the self that keeps us locked in a room of our own making. But what if Musashi's wisdom goes even deeper? What if the true danger of overthinking isn't just the noise it creates, but the way it keeps us from ever truly beginning? What if it's not just a prison, but a powerful, silent enemy that promises safety while ensuring we never move at all? We've looked at the walls of the cage, but what about the invisible chains that hold us there? Chapter 11. The Perfect Mistake. Why Perfectionism is a Path to Paralysis. There's a subtle, seductive lie we tell ourselves, isn't there? A whisper that promises safety and control. It's the promise of perfection. We tell ourselves, I'll start when I know everything, or I'll act when I have the perfect plan. It's a beautiful thought, a fortress built of flawless intentions. But what if that fortress is also a prison? What if the search for the perfect first step is the very thing that keeps us from taking any steps at all? We often mistake this paralysis for prudence, for wisdom. We call it being careful, when in reality, it's a fear of making a mistake. A fear so potent, it stops us in our tracks. This is the quiet tyranny of perfectionism, the desire for a life without flaws, a path without stumbles. But what if the stumbles are the only way we learn to walk? And what if an ancient warrior, a man who lived and died by the sword, understood this truth better than we do today, armed with all our information and all our anxieties? What if his philosophy contains a dangerous and beautiful secret about the necessity of imperfection? A secret that could unlock your life from its cage? Let's go back in time to a different kind of duel. Not a duel of swords, but a duel of philosophies. Imagine a student of Musashi, a young man who has spent years meticulously perfecting his form. Every movement is precise, every stance flawless. He believes with all his heart that victory lies in perfect execution. He is a master of theory, a scholar of the sword. He can quote every manual, every philosophy. But when it comes to an actual confrontation, he hesitates. He overthinks. He wants the single most perfect move, the one that will guarantee victory without risk. He spends precious seconds analyzing his opponent, searching for a flawless opening, and in that moment of hesitation, he is lost. His perfect plan dissolves into a frantic, disjointed mess. Musashi, the master, watched this happen countless times. He saw a generation of warriors who were masters of the ideal, but paralyzed by reality. He saw that the pursuit of perfection was a sickness, a disease that kept a man from the one thing that truly mattered: action. Musashi's philosophy was simple, brutal, and profoundly liberating. There is no such thing as a perfect move. There is only the move you make, the move born from a single, unobstructed intention. In the chaos of battle, the winner isn't the one with the perfect plan. It's the one who acts. His most famous text, the Book of Five Rings, isn't a manual for finding the perfect technique. It's a guide to living in the moment, embracing chaos, understanding that mastery is paved with countless, imperfect steps. He writes about the way of the sword, but truly he's writing about the way of life. Life, like a duel, is not a perfect, pre-choreographed dance. It's a series of messy, imperfect moments. The only way to navigate them? Engage, fully, without hesitation. Think about a potter at the wheel. The first attempt is wobbly, uneven, collapsing in their hands. A perfectionist would call it failure and give up, burying themselves in perfect technique guides without touching clay again. But the true potter understands wobbles, collapses, lopsided shapes. These are not failures. They are lessons, the language of the clay. Each mistake is information, a whisper from the material itself. Musashi saw the human mind the same way. Every mistake, every misstep, every imperfect action is not proof of inadequacy. It is a crucial step in the journey. The overthinker recoils from mistakes. The warrior learns from them. This is the counterintuitive truth of Musashi's teaching. The path to mastery is crooked, full of detours and stumbles. The most dangerous thing? Standing still, waiting for the path to straighten. Embrace the imperfection. Accept that your first, 100th, 1000th step will be flawed. That's not just okay, it's essential. Musashi's philosophy is a quiet rebellion against the tyranny of the ideal, a call to action, to embrace the mess. You are not a sculpture carved from a perfect block of marble. You are a living, breathing, growing being. Growth is messy. A tree doesn't grow straight. It twists toward light, shaped by wind and sun. In its crookedness lies its beauty and strength. So, let go of the perfect first step. Let go of the perfect outcome. Give yourself permission to be imperfect, to make a mistake. That thing you've been putting off, that conversation, that project, begin it. Speak the first clumsy words. Paint the first awkward stroke. Simply start. Knowing every falter is part of the journey. This is the freedom to be imperfect. Musashi would look at us with all our anxiety and overplanning and smile, sadly. He would tell us, "You are already enough. Your imperfections are not weaknesses, they are your humanity." The greatest thing you can do is take a step, any step, because the only way to lose a battle in life or in the dojo is to never enter the fight at all. And what if perfectionism isn't the only thing holding us back? What if overthinking is also a kind of self-deception, a trick we play to feel in control while surrendering all our power? What if endless analysis is simply a way to avoid a painful and deeply liberating truth? We've looked at the what, but now let's look at the why. Why do we cling to overthinking? And what sacred secret knowledge could a warrior from another time reveal to us about it? Chapter 12. The Ghost in the Machine. How Overthinking Hijacks Your Intuition. There's a subtle, almost invisible thief that lives inside us all. It doesn't steal our possessions, but something far more valuable: our trust in ourselves. It's the moment we feel a deep, undeniable gut feeling, a quiet knowing, a sudden certainty, and then, almost instantly, another voice rises to challenge it. The voice of reason, the voice of logic, the voice that demands proof, evidence, and a detailed plan before we can even begin to trust our own internal compass. This is the ghost in the machine. It's overthinking, seen from a different angle. It's not just the noise. It's the specific kind of noise that drowns out our most fundamental form of wisdom, our intuition. What if the price we pay for this constant analytical self-talk is the loss of our ability to simply know? And what if an ancient warrior, a man who had to make life or death decisions in a fraction of a second, understood that this inner voice was the most important weapon he had? What if he could teach us how to finally silence the ghost and reclaim our most powerful tool? Musashi, the master, understood that the mind could be a dangerous thing. He saw that the analytical, calculating part of the mind was a slow and cumbersome tool in a real fight. In the heat of a duel, there is no time for a pro and con list. There is no time to weigh the probabilities or debate the best course of action. In that moment, a man's life depends on a different kind of knowledge, a knowledge that is not thought, but felt, a flash of insight, a sudden, unwavering clarity. This is what he called the way of the warrior, but also the way of the human being. He believed that our most profound and powerful truths are not found through logical deduction, but through deep, intuitive awareness. He would have told us that endless internal debate is not a sign of intelligence. It's a sign that we have become disconnected from our deepest self. We've become reliant on the ghost in the machine, the constant analytical hum, and in doing so, we have forgotten how to simply listen to the silence. Imagine a swordsman facing an opponent. He's read all the books, studied all the forms. His mind is filled with 1,000 strategies. He knows the correct way to parry, the correct way to strike. But his opponent is not a textbook. He is a living, breathing, unpredictable force. The analytical swordsman tries to match a textbook strategy to an unpredictable reality, and he fails. He is always one step behind. His mind is a slow, clunky engine trying to keep up with the lightning-fast speed of life. Now imagine a different swordsman, a student of Musashi. He has also studied the forms, but he has not memorized them. He has internalized them. He's practiced until they are no longer conscious steps, but a part of his body's own language. When he faces his opponent, his mind is empty, a still pool of water, perfectly reflecting the opponent's movements. His response is not a calculation. It is a reaction, instantaneous, intuitive, deeply powerful, coming from a place far deeper than thought. This is the essence of Musashi's teaching, the power of the unobstructed mind. It's not a chaotic marketplace, but a quiet, pristine instrument, perfectly tuned to the frequency of reality. We, in our modern lives, face 1,000 choices. What career path should I take? What relationship should I pursue? What's the right thing to say in this conversation? And in our anxiety, we turn to the ghost in the machine. We overthink. We analyze. We try to find the correct answer by weighing 1,000 variables. But what if the correct answer isn't in the variables at all? What if it's in that first, quiet feeling, that clear whisper of intuition, before the ghost began its frantic, analytical dance? Musashi would have told us, our deepest wisdom is not a secret to uncover, but a voice to hear. It's always there, beneath the noise, the steady beat of our own heart. And the only way to access it is to create space for it to be heard, to quiet the mind, to empty the room, to stop the frantic conversation. Think of it like this. Your intuition is a signal. Your overthinking is static. The signal is always there, but you can't hear it. The ghost in the machine is the static. The noise that convinces you the signal doesn't exist. Musashi's way clears the static. It turns down the volume until you can finally hear your own truth. So tonight, let's practice. As you lie here, remember a time you had a strong gut feeling, a clear sense of what was right, and you talked yourself out of it. Then ask, did the ghost in the machine lead you to a better place or to regret? Musashi would have told us, our biggest battles are lost before they begin. In hesitation, in doubt, in choosing to listen to the ghost instead of our inner warrior. The path to a life of courage, purpose, and peace is not perfect analysis. It's courageous action, guided by the clear, unwavering voice of truth. And in that moment of listening, you'll realize something. Overthinking, the ghost in the machine, is not part of you. It's a habit. And like any habit, it can be unlearned, silenced. In the silence, you will finally hear the voice of the one you were always meant to be. The one who simply knows. The one who simply acts. The one who is simply present. We've explored the cage of our minds, the paralysis of perfection, the ghost that steals our intuition. But what if there's a deeper truth in Musashi's philosophy? What if his wisdom isn't just about quieting the mind, but about how we orient our entire lives? What if he offers not just a way to fight overthinking, but a way to build a life where it doesn't even have a place?